I need approval of the agenda, please. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. None opposed. Next, we have public comment. Any public comment, please? This will be the first section, 5 minutes. Any public comment? Apparently no public comment. Okay, we move on to committee items. First will be item A, minutes of the November 12th, 2013 meeting. Any? All in favor? Indicate by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. Next up, a review of the Human Resources December drop list. Any questions? Just strictly for our review. Thank you. Item C, finance report for the month of October. Mr. Latham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. This is for the 10 months ended October 31st. Our benchmark, therefore, is 83.3%. Our expenditure level is at 79.8%. However, that's optimistic because the fourth quarter transfers are not recorded until the month of November. So we should be underspent at this point in time. Comments on specific items. Have some general comments on the revenue side. At this point in time, the property tax revenues are pretty much steady, if not ahead of last year. The Register of Deeds revenue is up from the year before, as shown on the budget, at 106%. And also, with respect to the revenue sharing revenue, which is recorded in the county treasurer's ORIKey, there is a so-called fifth quarter payment that is up higher than we budgeted, and that's indicative of increased income tax and business tax revenues. Typically, the state kind of settles up at the end of their fiscal year. Other funds, we're pretty much on track in terms of historical trends. Revenue is up relative to prior years a little bit, and that's largely due to the factors I just discussed, but also due to some timing issues where each year collections of revenues doesn't necessarily fall into a historical pattern. We'll see. I guess that's all I have to add. Any questions? Thank you.
You throw some good optimistic numbers out there, then you keep saying, except that this is caused because.
Yeah.
You had a chance to cheer us up. Help the economy. Any questions or concerns? Thank you, Mr. Latham. Next up, we have item D, finance budget adjustments. Do you care to speak to that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is, I call it an omnibus budget amendment that touches various departments within the county. The bottom line here is that we are increasing revenue overall, and this was due to two unusual situations. One is we received our refund from the city for legal costs incurred in connection with the storm sewer lawsuit. This is really reimbursing us for legal costs mostly incurred in the prior fiscal year. In other words, we spent that money in 2012, and now we're reimbursed for it. The other item is we received a larger than anticipated credit on our general and property liability insurance policies. So what we're proposing here is we're reducing the planned use of fund balance by the $356,000, such a matter. Also, with respect, while we're talking about revenues, is the Fair Fund recorded additional revenues due to grandstand receipts, which I think we discussed previously. So we are adjusting the revenues for that, and we're also adjusting for increased costs that the fair had with respect to the profit sharing, if you will, with the grandstand acts and so forth, and also costs incurred with increased alcohol sales for the fairgrounds. On the expenditure side, for the general fund, we're proposing a net decrease in expenditures overall and of $129,000, and we're transferring that into contingencies and so forth.
Questions for Mr. Latham? Need a motion? Have motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? None. Thank you. Appears to pass. Finance audit is up next. Is that your part too?
Yes, it is.
Do you care to speak to it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're recommending that the auditing firm of Raymond perform the audit for the county. And this year we had an unusual situation that the Raymond Group was engaged to audit the former road commission, and Abraham and Gaffney was engaged to audit the county as a whole. And this was the 5th year of each respective contract. And so it was determined that a separate audit report is not required for the JDOT. And so to us it was impractical to deal with 2 auditing firms simply to audit one fund of the county. In addition to the savings in these quotes of $3,100 in total, we also felt that the Raymond Group, because they were experienced with blending in the road commission at Calhoun County, in other words, that process occurred last year, that they are knowledgeable in this process and would better serve us in terms of accomplishing that task for this audit year. So accordingly, we recommend the Raymond Group for the audit. And again, this is a 1-year situation. Next year, we will put out an RFP for a 5-year period proposal.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Elwell.
Jim, you mentioned $3,100 in savings, but there's probably more with staff cost. Would you agree? That would be saved if we have one firm do it?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Get a motion and support to recommend to the full board the approval of Raymond as auditors.
Move to the full board.
We have motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? None. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Jim. Treasurer's report. Welcome, Karen.
Good afternoon. So this is my quarterly report, and I have lots of good information to share with you today. See if I can pull this up here. Okay, I sent you via email the summary reports for the portfolio for October and November, but I just want to go through November, and then I've got some other highlights that I want to talk about, not related directly to the investments in the portfolio that we currently have. For November, you can see that for our short-term, our certificates of deposits, we had just over $3.75 million, which is 6% of the portfolio. The money market accounts just shy of $15 million, which compromises 26% of the portfolio, and then the largest share being $40 million for treasuries and agencies with long-term fixed at 68% of the portfolio. So there's no real surprises there. That's kind of where we've been trending and holding all throughout the year. I do want to take a moment to talk about the lower portion of this summary page here, the revenue. It is December. This is the numbers and reports as of November, but I just did a quick down and dirty to see where we are, see how close we are to our revenue for these three items. As Jim had mentioned, the collection of delinquent taxes. Currently, as of today's date, we have reached and exceeded our budgeted amounts for revenue with that, just over the $20 million mark. So that's good news. For dog licenses, we were budgeted $60,000. We're just shy of that by $365, so I anticipate that we will not have a problem reaching and exceeding that in December. And then lastly, to report out on passports, we collected, as of November, $12,000. So let me go back, if I may, to talk about the dog licenses. As you know, December 1st is the big push where we go and issue the license renewals. We sent out just under 10,000 pieces for dog license renewals, and that's trending about the same for the past 4 years. It's about 9,900 pieces of mails for the dog renewals, so it's a pretty active and robust program. I know that we've talked in the past about those townships. There's been some inquiry about townships that sell dog licenses. I have that information. Currently, and we ask every year of the townships whether or not they wish to sell dog licenses at their township. So we polled the township treasurers, and we've got 11 townships that are currently selling dog licenses this year. 8 townships are not, and the city does not sell at all. They just direct people right down to the treasurer's office. So, and I know we've had some conversations too. The townships that choose to do that, it's a value-added service that they do at the local level, as well as they get $1 per tag that they sell at the local unit. So just some information for you. With regard to passports, this has kind of been a learning process for us. We had our first full year of selling passports last year. We sold 377 total passports last year. We're trending right now at 346. So I anticipate that within the month of December, we'll probably sell close to that 377 passports. So the revenue is a little bit trickier. I had originally budgeted $30,000. I don't think we're going to hit that mark. So next year, we'll look to amend that. But we are seeing a steady stream of people coming in and utilizing that service within our office. So that's good news there. Okay, let's flip through here. This is just the listing of all the current holdings that we have in the investment portfolio. Shows you the breakdown, the dollar amounts, if you're curious. This is the November monthly pooled interest. As of November, we allocated or distributed just under $700 in interest for these funds. The next document shows those that are unallocated. And then I want to take a moment to talk about our forfeiture map here. Okay, so you will see that this is the map for as of December 1st. A couple things I want to highlight. You'll see here at the top of the map, I kind of do a running total. This is a 3-year analysis. What that says is as of March 2011, we had 2,479 parcels that came to the treasurer's office in forfeiture, meaning they were not paid or delinquent from the locals. March of 2012, we had 2,397 parcels that came to us. This past March 2013, we had 2,588. So you can see there was a bump up as far as the total number of forfeitures coming from the local units of, I think, 191 parcels. Of note, too, is this is interesting to me, and I will go into further details to why I think this is happening. You'll see that right now we currently have in forfeiture that we're attempting collection on 1,193 parcels. That's 46% of the beginning number of 2,588, okay? Last year at this time, at 2012, we were at 1,240 parcels, which was 52% of the starting number. So that's good news. It means we've got less parcels that we are trying to collect on delinquent. What I see as why that's happening, and I mentioned this to you before, the last time I was before you, is I think that's a direct result of the ongoing efforts of foreclosure prevention at the state level, the Step Forward program, or the Michigan's Hardest Hit program. This was rolled out in January of this year. And it's a pretty significant package of opportunity for taxpayers in the respect that if they qualify under the Step Forward guidelines, they can get delinquent taxes paid. So that would have been taxes from 2010, 2011, and current year's taxes as well at the local units. This is pretty unprecedented. I don't recall a package of dollars, federal dollars and state dollars that have become available that will cover past taxes or back taxes plus current taxes. So I wanted to do a quick summary as of December where we are and how this program has impacted our office and I think ultimately these numbers of the forfeiture and foreclosure process. So we have on record working hand in hand with the Step Forward program, which is people at Michigan, at the state of Michigan. We have a number of 168 taxpayers that have applied for this program since its inception in January. How that translates to us here at the county, 35 parcels have been paid through this program. That means that the taxpayers contacted Step Forward through our local community action agency. They met the guidelines, they were able to qualify, and we have now seen those dollars come back to the county treasurer's office to pay for those delinquent taxes. So 35 parcels, 35 taxpayers, totaling just under $177,000. That's pretty significant. We still have 52 taxpayers that are in process. Now, whatever that means, I'm not exactly sure, but it goes to the Step Forward program, and they make sure that the people are eligible and qualified, and they've got a whole process that they do on their end. So there's still 52 taxpayers that are in the pipeline, so to speak. So we could have, ideally, more dollars coming to the county to help pay off those delinquent taxes. We had 8 incomplete applications at the state level, 4 declined, and 11 withdrawn. Now, I do want to mention that because this program is unique in the respect, it's not just paying delinquent taxes, it's paying taxes at the local units, so that means current taxes. And how that has impacted this year, 22 taxpayers have had their taxes paid utilizing these Step Forward dollars at the city and or the townships, and that's totaling just over $18,000. So I wanted to kind of give you a quick down and dirty about that program. I think it's been a success. It's interesting to me, and it's a good thing, I guess, that we still have dollars available. So I would encourage all of you, when you're talking to your constituents, to please let them know that this program is still up and running. There's still dollars that are available. Again, they can get in touch with our office, but what we're going to do ideally is send them right to Community Action Agency. So if you know people who are experiencing difficulty paying either their local current taxes at the township or the city and or if they have delinquent taxes with us, they may qualify for this program and it may help in the long run. And those numbers, you know, the people that we're impacting and getting those taxes paid for, it's numbers that we will not be foreclosing on come next March. So that's a good thing. Any questions about any of this information that I've covered so far? Okay.
Question or statement? One thing we got to consider.
I can't disagree with that. Okay, so enough about the Step Forward program. I do want to talk lastly about tax foreclosure auctions. I know that we've had several conversations, I've had several questions, so I thought I'd do a summary. We're at November, December, and I'd like to give you all an update as to what happened this year and where we are at year's end. So for this year, when we foreclosed March 31st, the taxes that were owed back to the Delinquent Tax Revolving Fund was $1,396,148 and change. That was our target number that we had to get back through the sale of both of the tax foreclosure auctions this year. We did not make that mark. As I had mentioned in previous meetings, we were able to collect, if you will, sale proceeds from the auctions to the tune of $987,450 and change. So that leaves us short for this year, just over $414,000, $276. So 414,276, if you're writing this down. This isn't anything new, unfortunately. We've had this same issue last year and the year before. It's never easy to have to deal with this, but we're to the point where now, because we did not make the 616 delinquent tax revolving fund whole, I will be doing chargebacks. And we have done chargebacks last year, and we did chargebacks the year before as well to try to recoup those costs that were already paid out to the townships and to the cities, okay? So we will be doing a chargeback in the amount of the 414 to the city of Jackson. All of the other units were made whole with regard to what was needed to be reimbursed. So unfortunately, the city has the largest number of parcels and are impacted. So this isn't anything new. These numbers seem, the dollar amounts seem to be high, but this was very close to what we charged them back last year. Okay? Any questions with regard to that? Yes.
Karen, in the prior 2 years, you had to do chargebacks. Were they all paid?
Yes, indeed they were. Well, one way to ensure they get paid is every March when I go to pay the taxes, deduct. So yes, they have been paid. This year what we're going to do, just to change things up a little bit, hopefully will be a cleaner process, is we're actually going to do an invoice so that we see everything take place this calendar fiscal year. So we'll be sending out the invoices to the city and the taxing jurisdictions. It's not just the city of Jackson. This impacts the city parcels, but we're also talking about the county interest admin and fees, the county fees, the jail, medical care facility, senior services, Jackson Public Schools, the state education tax, and JCC, the ISD, and the library. So when I say chargebacks, it's not just impacting the city of Jackson. It's impacting all of those taxing jurisdictions for the city parcels. Okay?
Karen, is JTA included? Was that included on
No.
the list or not?
JT is not included in this.
Okay.
No? Yes, please?
Thank you. Mine was somewhat related to what you asked. I was going to ask what the time frame in which they had to pay back that dollar amount. But what I'm hearing you saying is if they have not initiated it on their own, you just take care of it in March.
Correct.
Is that correct? Thank you.
Yes. So, if there's any other questions about the auction, that is it for my report, unless you have other questions.
Well, Karen, we're just sitting here talking, not to harp on JTA, but they have a millage in the city also, do they not? And why are they not included? I think they have a millage in the city, don't they?
No.
No?
JTA, millage? It might not impact those city parcels. It depends on the individual city parcels.
I see. I'm not saying they should be, I just look for clarification. Thanks.
From what I've got here, my records indicate that the JTA is not going to be charged back. That doesn't mean the past 2 years we haven't invoiced JTA.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does that help clarify? Thank you for allowing me to report out. Happy holidays to all of you. Let's see if I can do this right. There we go.
I move that we approve it.
Aye. happened to facilities? Just get up, Rick. That for Friday. I'll move to approve the request.
Support.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. May I make a comment on this? Yes, thank you, Chairman. I normally don't appear at these committees, but it's been an educational experience. This particular employee asked for consideration under the contract. And in doing this, I looked at the contract. I was an assistant prosecutor, part of that negotiating team. So I'm familiar with the provisions of the contract. And this particular contract on page 9 does have a section that allows for this specifically. It has to go through the department head, which is me, the prosecutor, and then through this committee. In talking to some of the members of the committee here, some of the commissioners, I did get some support, but during this discussion, it was brought to my attention that perhaps this would be considered precedent. And I was surprised by that because I felt as if I was doing a jury trial and this was closing argument in a drug case where there's delivery of drugs, and defense attorney gets up and says, hey, there's no fingerprints. Unfortunately, that's not a relevant argument because, we've got police officers who eyewitness delivery by the defendant of the drugs, so you don't need fingerprints. In other words, it's a red herring type argument that it doesn't apply. Likewise, I'd argue in this case, when I heard this about the precedents, it doesn't apply because, one, we have a contract that sets that forth, and it does have provisions which allows for exceptions to be made. There's no requirement in that provision the employee needs money financially or for emergency reasons. It just sets it forth. And so we do have that in this contract, but then in further finding this out, I thought, well, when will this provision ever apply? If it doesn't apply here in this case, where employees asking it because of financial reasons, because of serious medical issues that occurred to both his wife and himself in the last several years and gotten behind their finances, when does this provision apply? Is there a potential problem with the contract because you're supposed to bargain in good faith? Was there bargaining in good faith if we think that we can never, there's never a case where this section's ever going to apply because we don't want to. And then I found out during this talk with commissioners this past week is that we've had a case where PTO time has been paid in cash. I was told that the county administrator requested that, and he was asking for 120 hours or so. That was denied, and then it was reduced to 80 hours, and that was approved. So there is precedent for this. By that alone, if you believe in the precedent argument. And so if the top employee of the organization can get this benefit, why not a employee who has need also get treated the same way? So I understand the vote was taken here, but I'm disappointed by that. In my job, I try to do the right thing. I have these decisions every week, every month, and just feel that given the facts of this case, and we do have a contract, that the committee in this case is an exceptional case, that the vote should be yes to approve this particular request by this employee. I support it. I certainly have the money in my budget to do that. I'd ask the committee to reconsider the vote and to approve it. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. As you guys are well aware, that there's been a lot of restructuring that have taken place out at JDOT, one of which is the elimination of a lot of the upper supervisors out there. And in doing so, we've put a lot of working foremen in place of that. But the guidance that I utilize Bob for now has expanded, not only here but also over in Calhoun. So he's taken on a lot more responsibility, as I'm sure you guys are all well aware of. But with my restructuring at both places, I'm putting a lot more pressure on him as well. He's doing a great job doing it. He's handled the pressure. And in that light, that's where my recommendation is to get his pay scale up to where I believe it should be. Neighboring counties such as Washtenaw and others that have a similar position as him are actually in the 90s and stuff. So getting him up even to 80 is, at least in my opinion, the right thing to do at this time.
Inquire if the administrator has any comments on the issue.
Yes, thank you. When I first was approached about this, I had asked HR to become involved and take a look and to, evaluate the restructure and the financial arrangement and see if it was appropriate. Because the former road department was different structurally than ours when it comes to how we do their compensation. And they have, so HR has looked at this. They recommended this range, that this would fall into the range. I've also looked and spoke with Jerry as well as Calhoun in regard to this particular employee and what his responsibilities are and how he's meeting those responsibilities. All indications are that he's doing a very good job, has stepped up, and they have made changes too as well to the organization as far as at the lower level, supervisory level. There's considerable savings to be had. Jerry's done a good job in this restructure. So I would recommend and agree with Jerry's recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you. My comment is here, obviously there seems to be a reason for the high end of this grade 18. Obviously it's been discussed with our administrator as well, Jerry. My question is, and I'm not asking for a number here, I don't think it's appropriate, but not too long ago we had quite a discussion about the elected officials or department heads, and if you will, their chief deputies, how close they came to their salaries. Is there any type of concern here with that, since we're talking this dollar amount here as opposed to what the general manager of JDOT is making?
I actually, if you will, I look at it almost in the opposite direction. I've got superintendents at Calhoun and also at Jackson I've got actually one that makes more than Bob does currently. So it's just the opposite role, and that's where I'm trying to get his compensation where I believe it should be. It'll fall in between where I'm at and where those superintendents are at as well.
Okay, thank you.
Just a question, I assume it gets approved or turned down here and it does not go to the full board? Is that accurate?
A lot of them don't say that, but
It doesn't say that, but okay. I'd move to forward the request to the full board.
aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Just that it really will increase the efficiency of the office as well as allowing individual jurors to complete the questionnaires or request postponements or permanent excuses from the convenience of their home or their personal cell phone. Will also allow them to check in using their iPhone with a free app that they can download. It's just moving the office into the future. Right now, we're pretty antiquated, so.
Not necessarily a question, a comment. This, you made a comment in here, this does come from expenditure savings, so I'll just make the motion that we move this to the full board.
Support. Aye.
Just a quick question. Amanda, you mentioned an app they can get for smartphones. Is it something we designed or was it part of the software package?
It's part of the software
Okay.
package, and they're currently working to have one for an Android device as well. So. That's it. Thank you.
Support. Aye.
Lisa Sadi from the Jackson Citizen Patriot. Phil, I don't know. We can't hear you. I don't know if that's on. I'm having a really hard time. Go closer. Is it sounding better? Oh.
No.
Not that I don't want to be close to you.
Hello?
You gotta yell in it.
Yodel? Okay. Item 7, any committee member comments? Commissioner Elwell. Is it working now?
Mine works fine, I think. I got a big mouth, though. I just wanted to discuss briefly a suggestion for the administrator. I've talked to a couple of you about my belief of a need to either create a policy or simply amend our vehicle policy that would mandate timely reporting of all accidents involving county equipment or vehicles to the administrator's office, and then from the administrator to the commissioners also in a timely manner. So I think I would ask support of the committee to ask the administrator to bring back to us next month either an amended current policy where it would be appropriate, or if they could develop a new policy that would do that, not looking to do anything other than make the commissioners aware of the accidents that happen. I do appreciate the list the administrator's office sent us all last week, but I think that there needs to be some reasonableness in it as far as when it gets reported. My personal opinion is that if there's an injury involved, it should be reported to the administrator directly the day of the accident. If there's no injuries, I think the next business day would be sufficient, and I would, I guess as one person, expect the administrator to get the information to us in a timely manner also. Secondary to that, as an afterthought, was lawsuits. Nobody likes being surprised by lawsuits, and I think the most recent one that we became aware of, the administrator told us fairly quickly on it, but I think it would be just as easy to include that in a policy or somehow make us aware of the lawsuits as soon as the county is aware of them. John Citizen can go out there and search the internet and find them sometimes quicker than we find them. I'm not faulting anybody for that, because many times the county doesn't immediately know that we've been sued, but I think it would be a good idea that we have some consistency on when we hear about those things. I don't like hearing about them from the public, and not knowing about them. So that's what I'd be looking for support for, is asking the administrator to work on policies for next month. Thank you.
Apparently not. Meeting adjourned.
Hey, no, it's on now.
12:41.
No, it's on.